Hey family, welcome to Unmute Your Mic podcast, the place where high achievers get real about what's happening behind the success. We are your hosts, Coach Lauren J, and I've got my co-host Jeremy Watkins with me. And every week we have honest conversations that help you deepen your connection with God, yourself, and your partner. So this episode today is going to be so good. So welcome to those, if this is your first time finding us. Welcome, you're now family. And for those of you who are with us every week, hey family.
What's up? Happy New Year, y'all.
Happy New Year. Oh my God, this is our first episode of 2026.
First episode of 2026. Yeah, how exciting. We made it. We here.
We made it.
Lauren thought I was going to ditch her. She didn't know how long I was going to be here. She thought I was on temporary assignment. I said, baby, we got more things to do. Come on.
And y'all, I'm so glad about it. Y'all can hear it in my smile.
God is good. Now, man, it's been so much fun. I'm like, this is like one of my most enjoyable times of just content creating and partner with someone that, you know, you just enjoy, and God just makes everything so easy and such a safe place to be able to dive into things. And I'm really thankful, man. It feels an honor to be in this space and with this audience and with everybody. It feels like family, right? It feels like we're all having like one big family meeting, and there's, you know, nothing but the best dishes on the table, and we just dive in and talk about life. And that's the best type of culture that we want to create with you guys. So I hope y'all feel the same way we feel about y'all, because it's family over here.
It is family over here. Oh, that was so sweet.
Girl.
And today, Lord. He's ready.
Girl.
No, that's real. I thank y'all for sharing the podcast and leaving us reviews and just talking about how it's been changing your life. Like, this has been life-changing for us as well. So that has also been a big highlight of 2025, and as we go into 2026, and I'm really, really grateful for.
Amen. Amen.
So that's all I got before I introduce what we're talking about, because this relationship series is going to be, it has been.
This might have to be for the whole year. I think it's a relationship year, bro. Like, I was telling Lauren today as we was kind of debriefing about our content, and I was like, Lauren, I feel like this stuff is like maybe the first time a lot of people are hearing it. We might have to turn some of these episodes into like a month-long series within the relationship segment for the year, or however long, you know, God feels like he wants to stay in it. But I just feel like there's just so many layers that we have to like peel off in what we're going into. So we would love to know y'all feedback. Would y'all want an extension of some of these episodes instead of like just having like a 30-minute segment of it? Let us know if you want us to dive deeper on certain topics with questions or thoughts that you have. That way it's kind of easier for us to know like how long we should navigate things for you and how long we should move past things and stuff like that. That way we can better create things that are more potent to where you are, to can meet you for where you are, because we want to create that for you guys. So let us know your feedback.
Oh, I like that. Drop that in the comments.
Yeah.
We be reading the comments.
Yeah, we do. I love the comments. It's fun.
Yeah, for real. No, but that's gold. That's definitely gold. So today we're talking about something that quietly destroys intimacy in long-term relationships, especially for us high achievers, high performers, overachievers, type A personality people. And so today's topic is called the intimacy you want versus the intimacy you're actually giving. So, you know, sometimes what you think you're giving, you're not giving. And if you've been like me, I have been charged and convicted for being the person that's physically present but emotionally absent at the same time. So I know what that's like to be that. And then I also know what it's like to really be in a position where like you are being fully seen, fully known, fully understood, and fully loved by your person. Or just the people that you're in connection with and doing life with. And so this is something that I think is going to really help us all really take an introspective look on ourselves. And one of the other things we're going to talk into is capacity as well. Your capabilities versus your capacity. Because sometimes we be expecting too much from folk.
It's very true. That's very true. Okay. Listen, you're trying to get into the depths of stuff. Remember, as I always say, if we're going to go there, Lord, you better know where you taking this, because once we go into the depths.
Well, see, I have the shirts, faith and love. That's what I'm wearing today. Faith and love, worth fighting for. So y'all gonna, y'all gonna make it.
That's how you know we getting old. We starting to get like those type of sweaters and shirts that's got like sayings and like declarations.
Because it shares your values. I love to wear stuff that like aligns with how I am. That's like my new wardrobe.
I love it. Listen, I already talked to you about getting old. I was like, this is great. It's so easy over here. Oh my God, the simplicity is great.
It's real easy over there.
Don't start. They don't need to know. I'm ready, y'all. Y'all ready? Tie your shoes up. Get your snorkeling gear. If you don't like to be wet, put your swimsuit on, baby. Because look, is you ready?
Who are you becoming in 2026? That sounds like some stuff I would have said.
Listen, this always been in me, but I had to let you do it. We switching this year.
Or I like it.
Yeah, Lauren's gonna be the deep one while I get to land the plane smoothly. It's great. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's get it. What's the topic?
When you think, so let me ask you this. When you heard me talk about the title, and we were just kind of talking through this, about the intimacy you want versus the intimacy you give, what immediately came up for you? Just hearing the title.
Man, what immediately came up to me was, I feel like so many people do not have a natural response or a natural thing in them that is sparked by feedback of how other people are experiencing their love for them. Man, it is so easy to write the list for how we want other people to be towards us. But very seldomly do we ask people to give us a list of what it feels like for us to love them. And are we okay with hearing the feedback that maybe the love that we offer doesn't feel like love to someone else? It's the only way you can truly walk in intimacy. Not in just in connection, but how do we actually resolve disconnection?
Man. But sometimes that's hard to hear. Like, when you think you're doing, like, especially for those of us who like to get everything right and perfect, and you think you're doing the right thing, sometimes it's hard to hear somebody tell you, like, I mean, I appreciate it because I know how much effort it's taking for you to do that, but that's not really tracking well with me.
It doesn't feel like love to me.
It don't feel like love. Because the party will be wanting to argue, like, what you mean? You ain't feel like love. Like,
we argue because we think our ability to love is what equates and measures our value and worth, and they're not the same.
Go ahead and go there, Jer.
I've said this before on other episodes, but this goes into the same congruency. Your ability to do something has nothing to do with your worth. When God made you, he wasn't like, okay, your ability to is what's going to make you worth it. It's not what he made. In fact, God didn't make anything to serve him. So it can't be your ability because he already has it all. So what ability can you give to God that he doesn't already have in and of himself? Right? So what we've done, Lauren, we're walking in an orphan spirit where it's hard to be intimate and grounded in relationship when a relationship is formed for two people who already know whose they are in order to operate in. But if your definition of who you are is based on somebody's ability to receive or to reject you, you're always going to struggle with showing up in relationship because it's made for a human being that already knows what it is. So A, we don't know how to be human. B, we don't know how to define humanity. And 3, we've allowed everything that's happened to us to be the thing that defines how we love. And that should not be an accurate space that we'd learn what love is from our experiences. Right?
Yeah, so it sounds like we solve based on our pain.
Yeah. What has happened to us, the harm that has been done, right? And so intimacy is based on how little pain can you cause me? And if you're the person who hurts me the least, then I'll choose you.
Yeah.
But nobody can guarantee that because what I'm going to be in the next season or the next chapter or the next moment of my life or how I'm going to respond to how life deals with me may alter the way that I show up. And if I change in the way that I show up, it may feel like pain for you, even though it's not pain happening.
Yeah.
So there's so many dynamics of depending on such a cheap understanding or a cheap foundation for us to try to choose love through. So the reason why we actually can't process love and intimacy in the way it was made to be is because we're still measuring how little or how much pain someone's going to cause us to determine how intimate we are with them and how intimate we are able to receive from them.
So should we determine that really more so based on our comfort level with the story that we have to tell about ourselves versus what that person can or can't? Because then it's almost like this giving somebody too much power at that point, right? If the way or the decision that I have or the way I make a decision on how open I'm going to be with you is all predicated on how much pain you could potentially enforce on me or we can go through together, then to me, it's almost giving a person too much power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you're kind of losing your own authenticity, which most men want your authenticity, which is why they don't like all your wigs and lashes. Because they don't know if that's the real you.
You'd be surprised. Okay, so you went into a jokingly response, but I want to respond to it because I was like, oh, we should go there.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing you said is like, we make people God.
Mm-hmm.
A human being cannot determine how much or how less they hurt you because they're not you to determine what feels like pain. So we don't even know that we're asking for God in the flesh. We don't even know that we're asking it. Like, just take what we just shared and we sat in that. I want someone to be inside of me to feel my pain so they can know how not to harm me. And the only person that can do that is God. So the intimacy I'm longing for is actually with God and actually not a person.
Yeah.
And when we realize that the intimacy that we're longing for is actually with God, guess what I get to do with the person more easier? Be intimate with them.
It overflows to them.
Because now I'm not depending on whether their opinion, I'm not depending on their rejection, I'm not depending on their acceptance, I'm not depending on their capacity, I'm not depending on their wisdom, I'm not depending on their encouragement, I'm not depending on what they have to say or believe about anything inside of me, because everything inside of me is already being depended on by God and what he thinks about it.
Yeah.
So if we want true intimacy, we can only give it when we're intimate with God fully in ourselves first to then give to a person. Listen, in relationships, even if you're in it right now, if you want to experience the depth of the relationship in the highest form, the potential of your relationship, I challenge both you and your partner to go through a process where you have depended on one another, depend on God more in that area. And watch what happens to the intimacy in your marriage.
That's good.
Watch what happens to the intimacy of God in your marriage. Now, this is what happens. Oh, it's getting exciting. Let's go. If we have depended on God to be the author of the intimacy in us, then now myself and the other person have the freedom to form into whatever they're going to be made into without me feeling resentful or needing to control or manipulate them back into a form that I need them to in order to stay in intimacy.
No longer controlling.
Now there's freedom to become while I'm being, and the intimacy never affects the measure, because whatever you become, Lauren, that I don't know that you're going to be, it doesn't matter because I'm depending on God to hold space for the intimacy in me anyways. And then when I'm holding space, guess what I'm saying to you? Man, God, how is Lauren being intimate with you? And how can I start to actually meet with Lauren where she's at with you so that I can be connected in your union? And guess what? We're in the same person. If you're in God and I'm in God, guess what we're going to happen no matter who we change it to? We're always going to see one another because we're being seen by the same person.
We're in oneness.
That's what it means to be equally yoked.
Yeah.
But people can have the same belief system of a religion and think that that's called being equally yoked. But if God is not the person who is the author of the intimacy in you,
Mm-hmm.
then all we're doing is only in favor when we're being religious, but we don't know how to actually be in connection when we're being human. And this is why so many religious relationships can't stand.
Yeah. Because they're just routines.
They're just traditions.
Yeah.
They're just tropes and practices that other people have done. And I'm living somebody else's spiritual lived experience, and I've made it my own. And we call that intimacy.
So where do you think we're missing the boat at? But like who teaches us how to be intimate? Where do you think that originates?
Oh, so now you hit the hard end spot. Let's go. You came ready for 2026. Y'all better be ready for Lauren. She coming for the jugular this year. I'm just letting y'all know. In the beginning, when he woke Adam up with that breath in his body, and he had no idea who and what he was, what did he do? The Bible says he walked in the dew of the day. We were made to come to know. And imagine Adam wakening to the dawn of this new everything, the first of everything. Ain't nothing else that looked like him but the garden. He ain't got nobody to go to tell him who and what he is, except for the one who made him. And all of that curiosity, all of that wonder, all of that awe, all of that surpassing his understanding, all of him feeling the weight of God's intended purpose for him to be made to live in the delight of God in all of his immeasurability. And that's how the intimacy was formed, as we started walking and we started having this conversation about what was inside of me. And then God was showing what was inside of him. And he was like, you are made in my image. And you're like, God, what is your image? I would love to show you. You're going to show me your image, God? And then you start to see your image looking like God's image. And then that's intimacy. You're like, oh my God, we're intertwined. We're connected. Mm-hmm. We have sameness. We have compatibility. We have chemistry. We have connection. We have mirrored reflection. When I move, you move. Wow. We have this flow. We have this energy. And that's where it's born from, is seeing God, seeing us. And when we look at him and we look back at one another, we see the same person. And here's what's beautiful, why it has to start with God. Whatever God shows you about you, he's the only person that can be honest with you, because he doesn't know how to tell you a lie.
He gonna tell you out of love anyway.
And whatever God is, he's always going to be it. God doesn't mature into anything else. He just is. So whatever God said you are like in him, you're always going to be it. You don't ever need reassurance.
Yeah.
You don't ever need to be told the second or third time. You can, and God can go deeper into it. I'm not saying don't do it, but this is what holds the concrete. This is what builds the foundation. This is what sustains the seed that God put inside of us, that when we look on to him and we start getting curious about who and what he is and what makes him what he is and how we can be in awe of what he is and how we can live in wonder of what he is. And then after all of that wondering and all of that honest and all of that beholding and all of that being overwhelmed, we're like, wow, you are mine and I am yours. Then now we're persuaded. Now, do you see that? How I did that? Mm-hmm. Now, when I see human to human, I start seeing them from the same image.
That is so wild. Because
Lauren, I don't see them from how they're being towards me.
Not their behavior.
I see them from how God is as they are, even if they don't see it.
Yeah.
And I start to interact with them, and I start to declare things over them, and I start to affirm and admonish them according to what God says about them, because he said the same thing to me. And now our intimacy is formed around the thing that will always be. So even when life changes, even when hardship comes, even when circumstances show up, even when loss happens, even when grief strickens, even when fear tries to cast something out, Our intimacy is grounded on something that is immovable because it will never be anything than it always have been.
Come on, firm foundation.
Do you see the design? Do you see how he made it? Okay, so let's stay in the scripture. Do you see how God did Adam? Adam did Eve.
Mm-hmm.
When God presented, he named, and then he revealed the image. When Adam was walking with God and God was walking with, God was in awe of what he made, just so y'all know. So when you read about in Psalm 139 that he made you, and he was talking about like how beautifully and wonderfully and fearfully he was in awe. Wow, this is so beautiful. Oh my God, this is so wonderful. Dang, y'all, I cannot believe I made something this good. Look at this. That's how God was looking at it. That's how God looks at you. That's how God was looking at Adam. And God was like, and Adam was doing the same. And God was so enamored that he named him because he saw himself in him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what Adam did when he saw Eve.
Come on.
Flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone.
Bone of my bone. At last.
You're like me.
Yeah.
Anything that we name is something that we're intimate with.
So it's almost like when we change our name and now our name is one last name.
Intimacy.
Intimacy.
You've been named for something that I'm intimate with. And the reason why those type of constructs don't last when we name is because we haven't been intimate with it. We've given something the wrong name. We've named something that we don't have intimacy with. Intimacy and agreement are not the same.
No, they're not.
This is why you will always hear me argue about roles.
Yeah.
I struggle with them because even though they're great for agreement, for infrastructure, doesn't mean that it's always going to equal intimacy.
Can we talk about it? Can we study it? Can we study it just a little bit? We can't study it. Can we study it?
Let's go in there. Let's go in there. Come on.
So when we talk about roles and your thoughts around that, can you give us a little more clarity around what you mean?
Yeah, I think there's this context. I think a lot of us probably define it from patriarchy because that's what most of us have known. Where women are the nurturers, women raise the kids, men are the provider and the protectors. But if you notice in all of that roles, it has no talking or discussion or language about them being connected to one another. It's about them being connected to something that's not each other. Provision is my job. That ain't got nothing to do with my relationship with you. Protection has to deal with me fighting off all of the things external to you that has nothing to do with you, even though you're receiving from it. I'm not interacting with you about it. I'm interacting with the threat, right? Those are my two roles. Nurturing has to do with me and the kids. I'm not in a relationship with you, even though I'm in communication about it, even though you're assisting me in this or we're partnering with, but it's my interaction with these walls and the colors and the furniture and the decor and what gets organized. And it's about these kids. So everything we're touching is not one another, but everything that comes with us. That's not intimate. That's not intimate.
Yeah.
The care that you have for the house may feel like less care towards me. The way that you love the kids makes me feel like you love them more than you love me because of your investment.
And intentionality.
The way that I work all the time, just because it's got us all these things, how do I have time to actually pour into you?
Yeah.
And if I'm constantly being worried about what can happen to us, how can I actually be present for what we're actually experiencing?
That's good.
See how we don't even think about challenging these things to say, but none of these have to do with the heart of us, you and I in connection. It's how do we remain responsible for being intimately connected with what we have instead of us being intimately connected with who we are.
It's management. Yeah, it's management without connection. So this is going to help somebody. So when we get into these whole roles, and even when I shared it starting out about like, I know what it's like to be physically present, but emotionally unavailable, right? Like ding dong, the lights ain't at home, right? Because I'm somewhere else. So when we go into understanding these roles and what works best, and Jerry, you and I were talking about this earlier around roles, and I had shared, I see the task at hand, us identifying who do the task based on the skill and will, like who's the best for that job versus because you're a man, you should do that job. You may not be the best person. Like, if you're not the best person for the budgeting, and I am, just because you're the man doesn't automatically mean that you have the skill set or the willingness to be the best person to do that job of budgeting for the family. Mm-hmm. You may be the person that's better at communicating the budget, and I may be the person that's better at keying numbers in every single day and looking at where we are, right? So I think when we can share in responsibility and take off the gender title, because see, titles bring entitlement. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you got this title, now you're entitled to doing this work. Right. So if you take the titles off and we're just looking at the task and the skill set and the willingness, now we can really identify who should really be doing what, because the goal is to make it lighter because you've got more. Yeah. You got 2 hands, but if both of our hands together, we have 4 hands. Yeah. So now that we have 4 hands, we shouldn't have to just like overly rely on you to do something or over rely on this person to do something. It should be equal share. And so for those of you that are listening, if you feel like a lot of times, and I get this a lot especially when I'm coaching men, they get dinged with you're at home, but you're not really present. But that also comes because that person has so much to carry. So if you're the helpmate, then how about you help out and take something off the mate? Like versus want to be with it. Now, this is Jeremy soapbox. I want to be in your soft girl era, and you want to put your feet up, Princess Di, and do nothing.
Listen, that's a deep conversation that I don't know if the audience is ready for me to expose. As you and I have talked in privacy, I try to have wisdom and sobriety about certain things that I'm still ironing out with God.
Absolutely.
And with the people I love. But I'll say this, the only way that we can truly have rest and the only way that we can truly have softness in our life is where God is the author and finisher of it.
Absolutely.
It has never been dependent upon a human being to give us that. Once again, we keep going back to trying to make people God to us because we are not experiencing God in us.
And we're not enjoying people as God did, like as God intended. He created us for his pleasures. So are you enjoying this person are you enjoying it as God did?
We're only getting enjoyment as long as you can be God to me, which is not enjoyment. It's enslavement. And we don't know the difference. And so what we believe is that the intimacy that we define, we actually don't know what intimacy is. And we can't get to intimacy because we're afraid of being vulnerable. And we can't get to vulnerability because we think vulnerability is transparency. And we can't get to transparency because we're extremely guarded because we think it's our responsibility to guard our peace and guard our hearts when you can't guard something that only God can give you. You can't guard God. God is the peace of your life.
Correct.
And God is the life in your heart. And God is the one who has your heart in his hand. So how are you going to guard something that's already guarded? And you can't guard something that's spiritual. Like, how are you going to guard something that's spiritual? So one of the things that people have to undo is what the ignorance that they have about intimacy, and they don't even know that they're ignorant because people don't want to be harmed anymore. And their fear of being hurt is what's holding them back from true intimacy. And it's so interesting because I ask people this question all the time. I said, if God defeated death and he said death has no sting and death can no longer overtake you, then what else could you be afraid of? What's worse than death? But some of us think being hurt again is worse than death. And I would say that we would probably need our emotional maturity healed and strengthened if what we went through feels worse than death. And I'm not here to gaslight anybody. I'm just saying that some of the sensitivities that we have is our inability to properly explore and look back at the pain of what happened to us so that we can grow and have a strength when we look back at the things that harmed us instead of being afraid of reliving it again. So even when we have that mental maturity and that internal process, Lauren, now we can invite people into an intimacy that they will enjoy. And then we can give an intimacy that we will enjoy and vice versa. So I think to answer your question, as I did in so many ways, I think it comes down to this. What stands in the way? And what is the origin? We cannot exhibit the fullest form of intimacy if we first are not experiencing intimacy with God.
Facts.
If we are not experiencing intimacy with God, we will depend on a human being to be intimate with us as though they are God. And whenever a human being is not satisfying you with what they can give you in and of yourself, then you will reject them and you will nail them to a tree as though they have betrayed you because they can't be God to you. And there is no more safer, there is no more dangerous heart than a person who is exalting another human being and depending on them to be God to them. There is nothing more dangerous than that. So the promise in our hearts that we are choosing someone hoping that they never hurt us. Not to say that we should be hurt in relationships. I'm not saying we should. I'm just saying it's inevitable. And we don't get to decide how that hurt shows up. We want relationships where we get to be the God over it, where we get to decide what will be the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. We're still trying to play God. And then whenever that change happens, where we no longer hold on to the continuity, well, there was no pain for this season, but gosh, this feels painful for this. See, we don't know the difference between discomfort and pain.
Yeah.
So all of these nuances, all of these gray areas of experiencing intimacy, we've created black and white principles. And if you step over this line, then I'll do this. And if you step over that line, I'll do that. And if you don't do as the things that I have written on a list to experience, because you can't design a person from a list and you can't make a person be as they are from a list, then nobody can operate in intimacy. And I will want to say to that person, you have no idea what intimacy is. I would say that you've built a place of imprisonment instead of a place of being intimate. And if nobody has the room to be as they are, and God gets to be the author and finisher of what they are instead of you, then your place is not a safe place to be intimate.
How much do you think communication plays into that?
Communication is everything, but communication is learned through relationship. And if you don't have the ability to be curious about something you don't have a language with, you'll never be a good communicator in anything. The best communicators are those who are curious. Mm-hmm. And some of the best curiosities that come and the most enlightening curiosities that come is when we're in relationship. As we talked earlier, and you asked me about my marriage that didn't work with Ava's mom, there were so many things that I didn't know, I didn't have a language for until I got out of it. I was like, wow, I didn't know that I wasn't as vulnerable as I thought I was. I didn't know that I wasn't as emotionally mature as I thought I was.
Same.
I didn't know that I wasn't as spiritually safe as I thought I was.
Same.
But when I experienced all these things, I realized, wow, I'm not as good as communicating as much as I thought I was. So instead of like building this fortress and the only person who can come in here is who can meet me and do as I do, so I never have to grow.
Yeah.
That's not intimacy. What I did is I got curious. I said, well, God, what does it look like to grow in these areas? How do I learn how to be more spiritually safe? I don't want somebody to be with me and then I'm actually playing God when they already have one. That's dangerous. I don't want to be dangerous. Hey, God, how do I start asking more questions emotionally? And how do I rationalize my emotions instead of just spiritualizing them? Man, I was just using scriptures to actually just deal with my emotions instead of actually just talking about my emotions.
Yeah.
Wow. How do I get to this place where I actually say, you know what? I actually don't know what to say about that, but can I come back to you later as I dwell on that? That it's okay not to know in the moment. I didn't know, because when I'm with me and God, I always had an answer. But relationships are different. And I realized I didn't always have an answer for things I'd never experienced. And God was never putting pressure on me to make sure that I knew. So like, I would say that curiosity and communication have to go hand in hand in order for intimacy to have a language.
So one of the things I was going to say around the communication piece was us thinking about like, how was that even like modeled from childhood? This is something I talked about on the masterclass, was that oftentimes as a kid, when you think about the time that you've had, and this, I thought you were going to say this earlier about like having that time to be curious, was when you have time to sit and wonder. Mm-hmm. Like if you're so busy, there's not a lot of time to wonder because you're executing, you're implementing, you're executing. So there's not a lot of time to just sit back and wonder and be like, well, God, I wonder, what do you think? It ain't the average person who's on the run They're not thinking like that. And then from a space around communication, people expect by 38, at your big age, you know how to talk.
Mm-hmm.
But what you don't realize is at age 8, at age 5, at age 4, when you were starting to form words and you started to question, especially in the South,
Mm-hmm.
questioning came across as a sign of disrespect. So even if you are curious and you're just trying to understand it, oftentimes if you question an adult, that was called back talking.
Mm-hmm.
They don't be back talking me, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't welcomed.
That's good, man.
The curiosity wasn't welcomed. Like, I remember after going through my divorce and having to realize, like, all the stuff I really thought that I was just slam dunking, and your girl was out here failing. Okay, like, it was no slam dunk shot. I was missing a goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't realize, like, I really wasn't as great of a communicator as I thought. Oftentimes in communication, the biggest miscommunication is thinking that you said something that you never said. You thought it, but it never came out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took me a long time to really start, like, to have this idea one day, like, I need to ask God, like, how do I become more curious? Because I was accustomed to telling, because I grew up in a household where you're told what to do, not asked, not given space to, do all this exploring and discovering. Well, why this, Mom? Well, why this? It wasn't like that, especially not from the men.
Mm-mm.
My mother, you could more so ask her some questions, and like she would kind of do that curiosity, wondering thing with you. But my dad, absolutely not. So if you're thinking about me being in a relationship with a man, all I know is to watch how you move and assume based on your patterns, because I don't know how to ask, because I didn't have that training of what it looks like to ask a man about certain things that only he can answer, and then sit there and receive what that looked like. So that's why I asked about the piece of communication, because I really do believe that asking questions is an art. It's not something that's just given to you at birth.
What you just said was probably so much light shed on probably the majority of anybody who would listen to this, because I would say the majority of us who grew up in households where curiosity was diminished. So it's really hard to even come to God as adults and not be curious, because we didn't even know what it was like to be curious with our parents. So how would we ever know how to be that with God? Right? So no wonder we go to a God that has no intimacy. What's my assignment? What am I doing this year? What's my destiny? What's my purpose? None of those are intimate questions. They have nothing to do with relationship. It's about duty and obligation, roles. And God ain't called you to play a role with him. He fulfills them all. So what does he want with you? Because he doesn't need you. So this is why God says when we were born into the world, we were born into sin. Because he knew we were born into a life that was not mirroring his life that was filled with intimacy. He knows that we wouldn't know what life was unless either A, he was either revealing it to us as a child and we didn't know what we were discerning, or B, we had parents who had some sort of a knowledge that he allowed us to have experience with. And that's not a lot of people that can say that. Or we had external experiences where it was teachers, peers, parents from other families who showed us, or something on television that we saw, or a movie, right? So what you're talking about is so imperative to intimacy. How we give it and how we should want it is everything starts with communication. There's literally scientific proof that they were able to trace at the beginning of existence started with a sound wave. They were able to track that there was like a molecule or some type of atom of sound. Someone spoke, and it was a substance that brought things into being. It's scientifically proven. So when we say that the Bible says that out of the mouth and out of the tongue, we speak either what? Life
or death.
Or death. So what is a relationship dependent upon? How we talk, right? Our relationship with God. If you believe upon what? The words that I said. Even Jesus said, what man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Not out of the mouth, not after you talk.
Everything that God declares can't return void to him. That means what I say, I mean it. That's how much communication means to God.
Yeah.
Right?
But we're reckless with our words a lot of times.
Reckless, selfish, prideful, corruptive, manipulative, perverted. And not like when we think of perversion, we think of like sex. We're talking about perverted, and like we're literally trying to frame people to be inhumane because we don't know what human is. Mm-hmm. And as long as you are as I say that you are, then you're human to me. And that's what defines the accessibility to intimacy. And that is the most demonic thing we can do to a person, is try to form them into our own image to determine how human they are based on our human experience. And most of us operate that way. And we're demonizing people. We're making them less human. So I can only experience someone as deep as I've allowed God to go in me. I'm going to say that one more time. I can only experience someone as deep as I have allowed God to go in me. People say, and the reason why I corrected this, because the world says I can only experience someone for as deep as I've gone in myself. Well, you ain't going to get very far because you don't live inside of you. And you don't know all of you. Only God does.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I changed that, because I didn't want to provide a worldly nugget to something that only God can give. It's like, we got it. So what I would say is that when we allow God to bring forth people in our life and they expose something from something that they're in, let us not hide or retract, but let us build a consciousness and a commitment to God. Hey, God, man, I realized, man, when I'm spending time with Lauren, I see how disciplined and how committed and how invested and how sound she is in everything that she touches. When she puts her heart in it, God, it is amazing to see. Everything she touches grows, not because of the abundance of it or it multiplies. It grows because she waters it. God, you know what I realized? I'm not a really good waterer. I'm good at putting the sprinkler system on, but if I forget to put it on, I won't water it. I only want to give so much in order for something to grow. And I realize it's going to take a whole lot of more than what I've already given in order for something to grow. God, what does that look like for me to have what is in Lauren, to whereas I'm able to water things and pour into things where I can actually see them blossom into the way that you want them to grow? See how instead of shaming myself or condemning myself because I see something in you that's not in me, it's got nothing to do with my worth or value, but it does affect my human experience. And as a human being, however many days I have in this body before God gives me a new one, I want to know what it looks like to grow things and see them all the way through. I want to be a stayer. I want to be loyal to the full process of something. What does that look like? Because I'm so content with being with me and God because it's all I've ever known. I don't mind things leaving me behind or me leaving something behind. Not because I don't want it or do want it. I'm just not as tied to things as people are because I've only known being tied to God for the last 24 years more than people. But people would say, I don't trust you because you're not loyal. No, it's not that I lack loyalty. I just have been with God for so much. There's just really nothing in the world that I feel that attached to other than my daughter because she came from me. It's not that I don't love people, but if somebody like my best friend, Mindy, we're wherever you go, I go, Jerry. Wherever I go, I know she's not going. But even if there is a time where I'm not close to her, we don't have time to be that close, that doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
Because I understand the art of that. But there is something that's beautiful when I look at you, Lauren, and see how you pour into the things that your heart is passionate about. I'm like, man, I want that. But you see how that creates intimacy, how I went to God about it. And I didn't retract from our relationship to reduce connection with me and I, because what's in you doesn't make me feel less of myself, which is what people do.
Yeah.
So the intimacy I always want you to be open with me. But when I'm open and you see things in me, you start to get insecure.
Yeah.
And you start to feel inadequate because you see things in me that are beautiful. And you're like, well, why don't I have that? And then all of a sudden I start to retract because I've let what I see in me to determine me. Remember, and I can't depend on my own understanding of me because I'm not the author and creator of Jeremy, and I'm not God in Jeremy. And God in Jeremy is the only person who could tell Jeremy about Jeremy more than Jeremy could tell myself about Jeremy. So I go to God. God, man, that's amazing. How did Lauren get that? God, that's how you are. When I see the scripture for man plants the seed and man waters the seed, but God gives the increase. God, you're all of those things. But I see that in Lauren. She's like you in that. I want to be a good gardener too. And God's like, I would love to produce that in you.
Yeah. So glad you asked.
Right? As Lauren is as I am, I can make you as I am too. And instead of creating insecurity and wedges and disconnections. Now, because I went to God about something I see in you that's beautiful, and can he grow and produce that in me? Now we're celebrating God planting something in me, and now we get to walk in together to see it grow.
As you just said something really powerful that I don't want people to skip by. Notice he said, I went to God, but then also as a good friend, you should be praying for your friend, like praying for them instead of weaponizing. Why you ain't doing that yet? Why you ain't it? You like, even as the support is to be able to be that person that, you know, you don't always have to go to them about what they're not doing. You can just go to God about it, and then he'll do the whole thing, and you don't have to do anything. I mean, it's the easiest thing ever.
It's the easiest thing ever.
It's the easiest thing ever, but you still have to go to God with it. And I think a lot of times we want to go to the person so that way we can say, oh, well, I went to you and then this changed because we want to take the credit and we want to own that versus saying, I went to God about this. And then I noticed that these things started shifting in this person. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have to say anything, and I didn't have to make them feel unsafe, and I didn't have to create this environment where they felt shame, where they felt guilt, where they started to blame themselves. Because what will happen is people from that mindset will start choosing things from a space of lack. Mm-hmm. And anytime that we choose from that space of lack, we will never be fulfilled. And so you'll never fulfill the fullness of what you even want, because now you're solving for one thing that's going to cure your headache, but it's going to cause you kidney disease. There's not one pill to fix a problem that you didn't break. And we use people as pills, and we want people to fix something they didn't break. And we want one pill to fix one problem. No. But that one pill has other side effects to it.
Other side effects that cause more issues in other areas that you ain't even looking at.
And if you only went to the only pill you need is prayer. You didn't even need no pill. You just really needed prayer. Mm-hmm. And when you go to God about it and you just bring it there in prayer, then everything else will work itself out.
Makes everything work.
You don't have to try to be in control of it. I think the most beautiful thing I've ever said on this podcast was the reason we don't trust God is because we can't control him.
I'm still sitting in that. That's coming with me in 2026. That's coming with me in every year. That thing right there was so quiet, but so loud at the same time. I remind you of it almost every time we talk. Go into it, Lauren. Go ahead. Tell the people.
And that is where I gauge myself. When I'm about to make a certain move that may not be a God move, it may be like I'm mad move. I feel like I need to play chess because I feel like you playing checkers. Because I always got to check with God to see, God, if I'm trying to control in this area. Mm-hmm. Because that's really the ulterior motive. And that's really what creates this connection in our relationships, is because we're going to people about a problem we have with the person. I'm going to give that to you again. We're going to people about a problem we have with a person versus going to God about it first, allowing him to give you language. That's one of the things I started doing in my healing season with God, was asking God to give me language. How do I communicate about this? How do I say these things to this person? And see, when you go in that level of intention, then God will give you language that you know good and well didn't come out of your mouth, because it ain't nothing historical that said this is how you people. You be going off on people, okay? You be waiting with your mouth. So we know it didn't come from you. It could have only came from God. And then you get this overhaul of an explanation that you're like, oh my goodness, because nothing brings you into deeper understanding like a question. And that's what I talked about even on the masterclass, was that if we're going to model the behavior of Christ asked questions. He asked a question, even when he knew what Adam and Eve had done, he asked, where are you? He knew,
he knew what they were.
Asked.
Right. In relationship.
So how often do we not ask? You have not because you asked.
Ask not.
And Proverbs says, in all things, the top thing to do is to gain an understanding, even if it costs you your life. And sometimes your life is your ego. Sometimes your life is the story you told yourself. Sometimes the life is the lie that you've been believing, because we always want to make it about us. You don't care about me. You must do this. And it's like, if you look at the pattern of the person, is that really true?
Is that really true?
But the truth of the matter is, you want to control the situation. So you don't bring them to God and then let God provide the increase. You don't have enough faith to plant it in love, with love, right? My shirt says faith and love. You don't have enough faith to plant it with love and to leave it there to let it cultivate because you're too busy trying to see, is it growing yet? Are we there yet? How much longer are they going to take? When they don't come, God, can you send me a tracking number, UPS, FedEx, how he coming in a bag, in a box? We're so worried about how he coming. We don't care about what we going to do to maintain him when it get here. Because we want to control it so bad. I don't want to control anything that bad.
I don't want to control nothing.
Nothing. I want to be freedom.
Y'all can have any form. Listen, I just want to be like Psalm 23. I just want to be led to green pastures. Well, all I can do is frolic and be kept. I don't want to listen. Y'all can have any form of control y'all want. And I ain't saying you want that. I'm just saying I don't want to control. Control is one of the most devastating illusions that people think is a real thing. Control ain't even real. And we've had this belief that the more I can control it, the more I can keep it safe, when it's actually the opposite. I can't control anything and make it what it is.
No.
I cannot control anything. You know what's so interesting? This past year, I was the worst dad I've ever been to Ava. By far, because I did an exit interview with myself and God. I said, God, I was trash this year. I was just going to be, I was trash.
That's an exit interview for me.
What? You got to, every year is an evaluation of who I was in something. Like I'm always talking about me with God, not with myself, because I'm talking about the person who I'm made by. And he's the only person that knows what he needs to form me into. So I go to him.
Yeah.
Man, God, I was trash. And he's like, Jared, this was the first year where you tried to move into a space of controlling Ava. This is why I created so much disconnection with Ava. And because you thought that she moved into an era of her life where she seems like she's more of an adult, you started treating her like one and she's still not. And so when she cried out to you in her adolescence, you responded as though she was an adult because she's tiptoeing in areas that she's never explored to see where she's at, because she's still figuring out who she is too. And because you didn't come to me to help you navigate where she was, to show you how to father her where she was, this is why you felt the most disconnected as a father this year. So I want to reconcile you. Ava's been struggling and having some anxiety with her sleep. My daughter, 7 years old, will be 8 in May.
Oh.
And I believe the worldly wisdom, because you're old enough to sleep by yourself and you already knew you was too grown to be sleeping with me. That's what the world says. But God said, well, do you think that serves Ava or that serves you? And if it doesn't serve Ava, then why would you allow it to serve you? So why don't you just lay with her so that she can know that no matter what age she is, whenever she feels anxiety or fear, there you'll always be, not forcing her to overcome something she doesn't know how to defeat in her own strength. And then God said, and then when you do that, guess who she's going to believe is already with her in that way too? Me. So for the last 2 days, I've been laying with Ava. Can I say something? I've had some of the best sleep, but at the same time, I realized my daughter is getting healed of her anxiety around her sleep because she knows, man, my dad will lay with me when I'm scared. So that way, whenever fear shows up, I'm like, even if I get scared, I know my dad will lay with me. So what's the point of being scared? Oh, wow. Never thought about that. And now we're operating where we're having back to deeper conversations. Now we're reconnecting in the deeper spaces that we have. And it's so amazing how God removed that one part of me and healed it and showed me who I really was in his image as a father. And then once he put me back into reconciliation as that version of Jeremy that he made, it brought light to every form of the relationship. Now everything's back clicking, right? But that's how we walk in the intimacy that we want to give and the intimacy that we want to have, is we go to God with circumventing the intimacy. And the way that God talks about us in Psalm 139, how he intimately loves and sees us and is aware of us, then we want to intimately be aware of him. And when we start circulating being aware of God as much as God is aware of us, then guess what we start normally practicing with people? I want to know you. I want to see you. I want to know what's on the inside. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what you love. I want to know what hurts you. I want to know what love has felt like to you for this point of your life and what you want love to feel like for the rest of it. What do you believe about love? What do you believe about a life? What does life look like to you? And we can tear down our imprisonment that we call intimacy, and we can have God bring us into his garden. We're no longer just walking with the person by ourselves, but we're walking with God with them. And that is the truest form of intimacy. So when I don't know things about Lauren or other people, God, what do you know about them? What can you share with me so I can love them the way that you love them? Man, we have help. You want to know why the dating pool and every relational pool has P in it? Because we're trying to do it on our own. We're trying to see people from our own peace, from our own financial freedom, from my own not having drama for 7 years, how I've been so okay without a man or a woman. Everything, like you said, Lauren, you said it so beautifully. Everything is based on our control. And if somebody doesn't come and match with my ability to control them, because this is my life and I've had it under my way for all these years, and there's no room for a relationship where somebody can bring in their own world and experiences, then therefore I'll be single forever. And I'm like, you're not in singleness, you're in bondage.
Man, you see, I'm over here taking notes.
It's the first time we hit an hour in a minute, so we got to land the plane. I'm gonna let you conclude it. Okay, go ahead.
So one of the things that you said as you were talking, I'm such a visual. I just started envisioning the thing about Ava was that proximity and closeness equals connection, right? And so you go back into this. Let me get close to you, like let me get in your space with you. Mm-hmm. And that being one of those things that I think a lot of times we don't think about getting into that space and coming out of our world into their world. Mm-hmm. Typically, we want people to come into our world because we ain't trying to come over there. Mm-hmm. We won't do the work. We want you to come over here. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no. Mm-hmm. If you identify that this is the issue and you're the one who's leading in that area, mm-hmm. Ava's 7. I don't know what age Ava started talking, but I mean, she ain't been talking but about 5. Mm-hmm. She ain't been talking that long. Yeah. She ain't even been, we're not even going to get into her communication.
You're
just
right.
talking.
Just talking.
She ain't been babbling that long, right? Like, we can still count on our 2 hands how long she been talking. And we got some things left over. So that's one piece of it. So so I hope what we take from this is that, like, instead of us looking at what the world says about closeness, looking at what God says about it and what it does long term, because the time that you're spending with her investing in just being present is giving her a present that's going to last way longer than the gift you ever gave her for Christmas.
Way longer.
And then the second thing that you said was around the P in the dating pool and the relational pool altogether. Mm. And the issue that we're having is that we're washing in the pool, but not bathing in the Spirit of God. And that's why there's P in it, because we're not bathing in the right place. We're washing in a pool where there's chlorine and all those other things, but we're not allowing ourselves to be bathed in the Spirit with God. Because once you bathe in the Spirit with Him, then you don't have to worry about coming over there to the pool. Mm-hmm.
And when you bathe in the Spirit, it cleanses whatever's in the pool that's unclean.
So that's how that's how y'all can get that pee out that pool. Man, this has been so good. Such a great time. I cannot wait for next Thursday for us to go live, for us to talk about this, for you guys to join us in this conversation. I cannot wait. If you have not already signed up for our Oneness Bible study group that's going to launch in January, please click the link in the show notes. Jerry and I will be there every other week.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Spending time with our community, and I'm really, really excited about what God's going to do in 2026. So without further ado, we love you. We thank God for you. Leave us a review. Let us know your thoughts. Yeah. And we can't wait to see you next week on Purpose.
Love y'all. Peace.